Jimmy, I know you've been waiting for this. It's time to get you more fish for your tank, and I gave you some homework to make some suggestions of fish that you and Penelope like for your tank. So what did you come up with?
Well, we want an emperor angelfish, a triggerfish, a dogface puffer, a shark or something that looks like a shark, an exquisite fairy wrasse, yellow tang, a yellow banded possum wrasse, a diamond goby, a rabbitfish, a purple firefish, a dragonet, a pipefish, a copper banded butterfly, triggerfish, a porcupine puffer, a Moorish idol, a candy basilet, a leopard wrasse, a white-tail tang, a royal grama, a blenny, a starfish like the one in the Nemo tank, mandarin fish, those are super colorful. Some type of a leopard wrasse, I don't know, it starts with a CH. An earmuff wrasse, a tasseled filefish, a blue spotted jawfish, Noco wrasse, I don't remember, it's something I saw on YouTube, some schooling fish, a pyramid butterfly, an earmuff wrasse. Oh, I'm sorry, did you have some suggestions for me?
Well, at this point, I have just one question for you, Jimmy. Do you feel lucky?
I do feel lucky.
You sure? I mean, let's draw on your experience with Ethan Hunt. Do you still feel lucky?
So I'm having a little regret. So the story, if anyone's been following along, I got a Falco hawkfish and we thought he looked really cool. He swam around and we named him Ethan after Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible since the new movie just came out. Well, I have a new Mission Impossible. It's called Catching Ethan Hunt because that guy, I have regret. He's wreaking havoc. I've lost a few fish to his aggression. So sadly, the guy at the fish store told me he was going to be okay in my tank and I didn't ask you first.
Yeah, about that. So, there's a lot on there that I have no concerns about, and there's some on there that I call fish on the fringe. If you looked online at fish, there's a little box sometimes and it says reef compatible, ? And then it will say with caution, which to me is very misleading because here's the thing about reef compatible. When we think reef, what do you think, Jimmy?
Corals.
Boom! There you go. So lots of those fish that are reef safe with caution, they're not going to touch your corals. What they're likely touch is invertebrates in your tank and sometimes fish. So the reef safe question to me is misleading. I call them fish on the fringe because they are probably going to be okay with your coral, but other invertebrates and other fish, that's where the caution, that's where the concern comes in, which is why I was asking you if you feel lucky. Sounds like the response is not really.
I don't know. It's an adventure. I'm telling you, it's still super cool, but it's heartbreaking. Not only is it heartbreaking, it's hard on the pocketbook when you put some new fish in there and the next day they're gone. That's not a good thing.
Especially when it's a fish aggression thing, because then you're just watching nature happen. Been there, done that. Done that with your earmuff wrasse. I put one of those in my tank long, like 12 years ago, and it proceeded to run around and smash every single hermit crab in my tank. And then I had to get it out, which was a world pain in the tail. So let's go ahead and strike that one off the list. Don't recommend that fish on the fringe. Don't even take the risk on that one.
All right, good advice. How about some others on my list?
Porcupine puffer, super cute fish. Totally understand why you would want one. They follow you around the tank and they're like, hey, what's going on? However, they're likely gonna smash invertebrates in your tank, potentially go after other fish. So, I would do that in a large fish-only tank, large meaning bigger tank mates than it, wouldn't put it in your tank. So let's strike that off the list. Dogface puffer, not gonna recommend that one. Probably gonna eat other invertebrates in your tank, probably gonna eat fish, probably gonna smash or chew on some corals because they need stimulation. They're gonna spit water at you. Besides, they're not the tank you have isn't big enough, so let's get the puffers off the list.
Okay, I feel like you're the parent who always says no. It's like everything that's cool. I'm like, Mark's like, oh, it's gonna eat. I mean, I know it's just facts that I need to learn, but.
I mean, I'm not saying no every time. I said maybe.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not heartbroken yet because there's a lot of other fish on the list. How about some of the others?
Here's one that's near and dear to our heart here at SaltwaterAquarium.com, the Emperor Angel, because the juvenile Emperor Angel is in our logo. That's why you liked it, right?
Yeah, it looks awesome. When I see them at the fish store, they look just like the logo.
As they become adults, they look like this one that I also saw in Australia. Here's the thing about some of these large angels. Like, I'm not worried about them with invertebrates. I'm not worried about them with other fish. That's a fish I would have some concern about eating your coral. But my experience is these large angels tend to have a taste for one type of coral. So an emperor angel might eat zoanthids. In my experience, like once they decide they like zoas, just as an example, then they're gonna only eat zoas. So I wouldn't expect them to eat LPS in your tank or any SPS in your tank. Or maybe they just go after one type of SPS, but not other types of SPS. So then the thing is, if you start getting all these different types of big angels, if they then develop their own taste for different types of corals, then all of a sudden, or your coral is getting smashed because all these different angels have their own unique taste. Here's where I would make the decision on that one. We're just looking at one of them. You're looking at one of the cooler ones, which I think is worth the risk. It's like you put it in your tank, maybe it develops the taste for one type of coral. That's less risk for me. What do you think about that?
I guess I haven't really experienced that, but I don't know why I feel differently about them eating the corals like than killing the fish. I just really get heartbroken when the fish die.
Well, then in that case, the Emperor Angel is a safe bet for you because I don't expect it to touch any of the fish in the tank.
Oh, that's great news.
Done and done. There you go. There's one that we're keeping on the list.
Okay, so let me just ask you a question. You were saying that they might pick out one type of coral that they like. Do people then almost like stock that coral like a food since they're doing that? Do you ever replace it?
I mean, you could, but even if they're eating the coral, that's not going to make up the staple of their diet.
Okay, the flip side of that is when they destroy it, do you just not put that kind of coral in, and then are they going to move to a different coral?
My experience is when they've zeroed in on one and they don't have it anymore, usually it's not a problem.
Okay, what about triggerfish?
Here's the fun thing about triggers. There's a lot of them that are just not right for a reef tank. They're absolutely smash invertebrates, probably smash other fish, but the most reef-safe-ish, this is still with caution, this is still a fish on the fringe, the blue throat trigger, or blue jaw, those guys, in my experience, tend to be the most reef-safe. I've had several pairs across several tanks and client tanks, never had any issues with them. Disclosure, I said that about 10 years ago. One of my followers went and got one. She put it in her tank and immediately ate all the cleaner shrimp in her tank. So this is where the fish on the fringe come in. Yours may have a taste for something. It may develop a taste for something. You don't know, but in my experience, the blue throat triggers, if you want one, that's the way to go. Here's the fun footnote about those guys. You can get a pair. The females are more plain Jane. They're just kind of grayish. The males actually have that blue or ruby throat to them. For sure get the dude, but let's go ahead and you can have a pair, which is a lot of fun to see in your tank.
All right, how about a shark or something that looks like a shark?
No. No.
Yes, sharks are
No.
cool.
Saying no, gonna be a firm no on this one. Hard stop.
Okay, if you have a shark and you're watching, put something in the comments below about your shark.
Okay, here's the thing about sharks in aquariums. Number one, you really need a big tank for it to work. Yes, you can get them small, but they always grow up. The cat shark that you were talking about can get up to 4 feet long. Some of them are smaller, and then people say, oh, once it gets bigger, I'll get a bigger tank or I'll rehome it, which I think is like a horrible approach to it. I like to get something that's appropriate for the tank that can stay in the tank. The other thing about sharks are, especially the cat sharks, like they're bottom feeders. They're gonna cruise around the bottom, they're gonna eat any invertebrate that they can find in the sand, and maybe even a fish. And then you gotta feed them a lot, so then you're probably gonna have a nutrient problem because then you feed them a lot, and then they poop a lot. Not a fan of the shark. Don't think that's appropriate. That's like one day when you're in the Jimmy Mansion and you got a tank that's like 10 feet long, you know, a huge type of thing. Maybe, even then it's gonna smash your invertebrates. Here's a fun factoid, Jimmy, that you can throw out when you're having those wild house parties that I know you have.
Yeah, that's me. Actually, everyone's invited to my cool house parties. I'll give you my address here in Orlando. It's...
You're famous. Everyone is gonna show up at your door. So here's a fun factoid you can throw out during your super VIP invite only Jimmy Newbie Reefer house party. You can get a Naoko wrasse, also known as a shark fin wrasse. This dorsal fin has a front part that's a little higher than the rest. It looks like a shark fin. And the Naoko wrasse is appropriate for your tank. I don't have any concerns for it. Totally reef safe.
All right, I'll have to search for one of those. I haven't seen them yet. I only saw that online.
So how are you feeling? I mean, we've got some, we had to compromise there. You feeling good now? You don't feel like I ruined your day? Like I'm the no dad?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm stoked. I definitely want to get some more fish in there. But the bigger issue right now is Mission Impossible. I'm afraid to put anything in there with Ethan swimming around and...
Now you got something to do. I'm out.
Later, dude. Thank you.